Hey, book lovers, book readers, book friends. Welcome to Read This Book. I'm your book hostess, LaShonda, bringing you this week's book review of Full Throttle by LaShawn Vassar. You may remember LaShawn Vassar from the super intense and super sexy book Snowbound. Well, honey, she does it again. This time she brings you a super fast, super exciting, full-on super race car story. Black female race car driver for NASCAR. Yeah, I said it. She wrote it. She did that. And the title is appropriate, Full Throttle, because this book, it does not let up. It goes from 0 to 100 in 2.5 seconds as soon as you start reading the story. Yes, I'm throwing in all of the race references for you. Okay? Okay. So this is a story about Colby James, who wants to drive. She wants to be the first Black female driver for NASCAR. She is the daughter of Cyrus, who is a chief engineer for Daughtry Racing, who's part of the NASCAR group. And they have a very long history, a very long and tragic history with NASCAR. But she moves back to Illinois because she's concerned about her father. But she also wants to really do what she loves, and that is drive for NASCAR. She wants to go fast. Colby is actually a really brilliant engineer. She went to MIT, and so she knows how to build. She is super smart. She can build an engine from scratch, and she's excited to get back and be with her father and the crew and, you know, do all that she can to help the team be successful, because technically she's not a part of the team. Okay, so the team is up for sale because the owner is a jerkface and he just wants the money. He does not care. They have a driver. His name is Asher, and he's a typical, you know, condescending, chauvinistic little jerk face, and he thinks the sun sets because of him, and it does not. He's their driver, and he really does not want to be there either, because Daughtry Racing is not necessarily the creme de la creme of NASCAR, and that's not their fault. It's the owner's fault. But anyway, you'll read that in the book. So they are up to be sold. Enter Brian and Liam Lockwood. Brian Lockwood is supposed to buy the team because he's an idiot. He made a bet with their family's mortal enemies, the Lachases, that basically boils down to, if he does not win this race, he has to give up ownership of his company, give up his shares of their family business. And Liam is like hell to the never. And so once again, you know, he's the big brother, so he steps in to help put a plan together so that Brian does not lose his shares and they don't lose their companies. So this deal for them is really truly about saving their own business, not necessarily about saving the racing group. So anyway, they mosey on down to Illinois, to East Moline. It's a real place, y'all. It's a real place. I got peeps there. So I was pleasantly surprised to see East Moline referenced in the book, because normally when you talk about racing or you talk about Illinois, it's always Chicago. No, LaShawn Vassar did not do that. She gave a shout out to the small town peeps. Love it, here for it. Anyway, let me focus. So they arrived to check out the team, to meet, you know, to talk with Tom, who was the owner, you know, talk to the crew and all this, and meet the drivers. And they're not impressed with Tom. They're like, whatever, you're the worst. And then they're also waiting to meet all of the drivers so they can kind of get a sense and feel for, you know, what's happening and all that good stuff. And they talk to the mechanics and whatnot. And so Colby arrives, and Liam is like taken with her. Like, he can't stop looking at her, and she's just looking at him like, what's your problem? You ain't never seen a Black woman before? And not that he hasn't, it's just that Liam is very much about his business. You know, he eats, sleep, and breathes his business. Um, I thought he was a robot, but he wasn't. He turned out to be human. But you know, so he's just kind of like, so what's this attraction? What is this? Okay, I just haven't been with a woman in a while. So, they meet everyone. They're trying to figure out, you know, the team and what they're gonna do, and they kind of just break apart. And Colby is working on a car, and she takes it out on a test drive. And little does she know that Brian and Liam is watching her on the track, but they don't know that it's her driving. They think it's Asher. And so they're like, wow, you know, our driver is amazing. Oh, we have a pretty good shot. But again, they don't know it was her that was driving. Um, so they negotiate, they buy the team, they meet Asher. They are not impressed with him. He is a little jerk face. Um, and so Asher meets Colby, and he's also very condescending, you know, chauvinistic, just a jerk towards her. And she's like, okay, I can outdrive you with my eyes closed. Like, she is giving him the business, and he's just like, okay, little lady. And I'm like, please, please, please put him in his place. So they decide to have a race. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna humor you in this because I'm the number one driver and you're not. And she was like, okay, game on. You know, put up a shut up. You know, Asher does not know. He does not know about her. He just assumes that she's the daughter of the chief mechanic and whatever. She gave him all the smoke. All the smoke. She dusted him. It was beautiful. Like, it didn't make no sense how she whooped him, and he's just like, you know, whatever, like typical guy who can't handle, you know, a strong, fabulous woman that can put you in your place, you know. So he storms out. So you have all this drama happening, all these pushing and pulling of things, you know, trying to get their team together. They're being bought, you know, who's gonna drive for them. And then there's this attraction that is happening between her and Liam, and they both want to ignore it, but they can't. Ciao. I loved the build up. I love the build up, and I love when they got to the point where they was like, you know what, we adults, we're about to do some adult things. And I was like, okay, you better do the thing, girl. Let him know. Don't play with you, you know. So they get together, and it was sexy. But you know the shoe is about to drop. Like, you know the drama is coming, and the drama came from multiple places. Not just their relationship, but her ability to drive in the Atlanta race. Her cousin Leela shows up, and lo and behold, she has history with Brian. So you have all this intense emotion that's happening between them. You have all this intense, you know, situations happening with Colby and Liam, and then you also have the underlying story, that history. You have what's happening with NASCAR. You know, she gives us a really good understanding, I would say, or kind of history of NASCAR and driving and women and whatnot. So it's not, you know, just a cutesy, oh, she gets to drive in NASCAR. You know, they really bring in all the elements. She ties it together in a really, really fascinating, amazing story. So, you know, they make it to Atlanta. Colby is she's pissed. She's pissed to the highest level of festivity, and Liam is trying to make it right, but she's like, and no, not having it. You can kick rocks. And then, you know, more drama ensues when, you know, their mortal enemy shows up, not only with the person that has done great harm to her family, but also shows up with Asher, who's supposed to be their driver. When I tell you they was flipping tables in the restaurant, They show out. Ooh, I was like, nuh-uh. No, he didn't. It, listen, it was on. I was like, okay, turn the page. What's gonna happen? Y'all, this story is freaking awesome. When I tell you I was in from page 1 until the very end, I was there. I appreciated the drama. I appreciated the history of NASCAR. I appreciated all of the underlying storylines that were blending together to make this. It had it. It had intensity. It had the racing. It had the drama. It had the sexy. It had family. You know, it just, she wrote a very well-rounded and very full story. And if you have never ever watched NASCAR, been to NASCAR, never cared about NASCAR, you know, it gives you a really good sense of kind of what you are missing. I personally enjoyed it. You know, again, it had that connection, that personal connection with me, with the small town in Illinois. It had the personal connection because I've been to a NASCAR race. No, I did not go voluntarily. My father-in-law was a very big race car fan, him and my husband. And so he felt that, you know, it just wasn't right that I never experienced a NASCAR race. And so he dragged me along with him and my husband. And, you know, to this day, I'm very glad that he did because it was actually quite exciting. And I enjoyed it, and I got to see my guys have a great time. And so as I'm reading this, I had that connection, so it makes it a little bit more personal to me. But even outside of that, I think if I didn't even have that connection, I would have thoroughly enjoyed this story because she brought it. It's a well-rounded, very exciting book to read. So yeah, Full Throttle by LaShawn Vassar. You should read this book. So until next time, read a good book.